All right, Ryan here, Combat Off-Road. We're going to install our Battle Ready inner fenders, but our Max Flow series. Part number is going to be 15-1266. So we don't need this anymore. Yeah, so our inner fender for the JK is one piece. The Max Air is going to be the logo, 2 heat reliefs, so you get extra heat relief on the trails. And then we have our debris shield, which covers up that extra gap. So we're going to show you how to put that on and all the other stuff that you need to know about it. Thanks. All right, so basic tools needed. You're going to want a drill. You're going to want a 23/64 drill bit. This is a stubby bit. You can use this or a regular bit, whatever makes sense to you. This is a can cut bit. Going to be your 5/32 Allen key. You're going to need some adjustable pliers. And I'm going to use the drill style nutser tool for an M6. So just because I like this one for the little guys, but there's all kinds of different ones. So that's going to be the main tools if you didn't do anything special with the inner fenders and you're just installing them as is. So we're going to combo the inner fenders on this Jeep with our fenders. So there's a couple little different things. Just I'm gonna lay out for tools. So you're gonna want we're gonna use our manual fender installation tool that comes in the fender kit. I'm gonna use an adjustable wrench to hold that. That's gonna be a 14mm socket and extension. I'm gonna use a driver, and I'm gonna use a socket tool that attaches to the driver. And then for the regular inner fender, you're gonna be installing an M6 at the backside, M6 rib nut on the 2 back pieces. We'll get to that. But for this particular install, because we're working with our fender and inner fender, we're upgoing to an M8. So we're gonna do 2 M8s instead of M6s for us. And then we're gonna need, what is this one again? Geez, if I could see, you know. It's our, what is going on? 9/16? No, what does that say? 3/16. 3/16. Scratch the 9, take 6 away. 3/16 Allen. So it's funny because I just used that all day. So that's the extra tools if you're running with our fenders. Just a couple little changes. These are the tools you need if you're just going to stick them inner fenders on by themselves. All right, so we'll get into the next steps. Okay, so let's identify some hardware and positions. I kind of like to do this. I like to set out the products and then figure out where all the stuff goes and sort out the hardware. So we can start at the front. So that's going to be our first tab. That's going to require an M6 nutsert and M6 Allen head and a washer. So I know that we're going to do that up here. Perfect. I'm going to come around to the top. I'm going to check this one out. So this is going to get a speed nut, which looks like this. And that speed nut's actually going to be just installed right here. And you're going to fasten it with another M6 Allen and a washer. So that's that. And then we're going to have these 2 bolt locations. That's going to be M6 Allen heads with washers. Those actually install in the OEM holes up here that it's ready for M6. So all you got to do is line those up and bolt those in. We're going to make it to the back. Like I said before, if you're just installing the inner fender, you're going to use the supplied M6 rib nuts, nutserts, however you want to call it. You're going to install them. They're going to install way back inside here. So we need 2 of those. If you're going to run them with our combo fender inner fender, you're going to watch the fender video and you're going to upgrade from our fender kit and you're going to run M8s in these places. So then this is going to be our debris shield. So, you know, you put this on, you have the fender, the gap in the fender right here. where all kinds of stuff can get in. We offer the aluminum debris shield. That simply fits in place here, follows the OEM outline, and it bolts with these two M6 Allen head bolts and washers. So that's all the hardware you need to get the installation done. Like I said, I like laying it out this way. You kind of know you have everything and everything you need. The only caveat as well is if you're going to run our marker light and our fender, this is already like perforated. So what you're going to do is, we'll do it later, but all you're going to do is grab this guy and just wiggle it loose. It'll break these tabs, and that'll give you a space for when the fender overlaps the inner fender for the LED marker light. So if you're not using that, you can leave it whole. If you are, you bend that out with some of these guys. So yeah, let's move on to the next stuff. Okay, step one. Ta-da, it's done already. You want to remove your OEM fender. So we just did a video on our aluminum fender. So this is all ready to go for the aluminum fender, but basically get rid of everything in here. Obviously you're going to strip out the OE or any other inner fender you would have had there. So that's kind of your blank canvas. If you have a fender already and it just ties into OE, don't worry about taking it off, but you just want to take off the inner fender. If you're going to run OE fenders, you can cut the plastic and just remove the fender part and leave part of the OE inner fender, or sorry, part of the fender, get rid of the inner fender, and you can zip tie that in different spots. So that's kind of special stuff. But for us, if you're going to put our inner fender in, you want to take it all out, have it ready to work with, and that's where we are now. Okay, step two. Step two is I'm going to locate the speed clip and the Allen bolt and washer that I had, and I'm going to come over here. So super easy to find. So it's just this tab right at this radius, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put that clip in there. So that's ready to go. And then since it's kind of step 2.5, we're going to grab the inner fender as a whole because it is one piece. I'm going to get a couple bolts here. So we're going to have 3 in total. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to set this in. Move this out of our way a little bit. So I'm going to set this guy in here. So I'm going to find that guy, locate it, use my Allen bolt. I'm just going to do finger tight for now, just as a locate. So that's going to be bolt 1. Bolt 2 is that frame support here. We're going to find that. We're going to just finger the heck out of that guy. So make sure the wire's out of the way. And then back here, you'll see the other one. You'll be able to see these really easy. You could clean the threads if you want. You could add a little penetrant or WD-40 or NECs, whatever you want. Basically, all I'm going to do now, I'm going to check the fitment here at the radius, make sure it looks good, make sure this panel sits in with the frame alignment, like with body, sorry. And then all I'm going to do is grab my, what do we call this size? 3/16. No, this is the, that's the big one. This is the 5/32. 5/32 Allen. So what we're doing now is we're just going to locate this on the body so we can prepare for the next step. So I'm going to tighten these like pretty much as tight as I would in final installation, because I got to make a spot for the bolt hole. So we're going to make sure that they're nice and tight and sitting in their final position. So yeah, I'll finish this up real quick and then we'll get back to the next step. 3. So basically we have this tight, like I said before, make sure it fits nice. Everything's tight. This is tight, like all the way up, perfect. This backing plate fits in place. Everything looks good, okay? So now we know our next step is going to be for this tab. So this is a hole we're going to drill, right? And then we're going to put a nutsert in it, right? So I'm just going to mark it. So I put a little paint on here. So I usually use a Sharpie, but I'm just going to outline the hole. So what I'm doing is I'm just pushing this back so it's out of the way of the swivel end link. So that'll hold that way. So you put a little pressure on it backwards, and then I'm just going to outline the hole, take the paint off. But like I said, you could use a Sharpie or a paint marker. I just didn't have one ready. So now that's ready to go. So we're going to take the inner fender back out, and we're going to drill that hole, and then we're going to add the nutsert in the front. Okay, so we did mark the front hole. Now we got to mark the 2 back holes. So just so you know, we want to fasten that in there. So do this while it's fastened in place with those 3 forward bolts. So you mark the front lower hole at the body mount. And basically we're looking to mark these 2 holes in this inner quad pinch seam of the body, okay? You can see mine are already drilled because we're using it with the fender, but you're gonna have the 2 holes. So all you're gonna do is make sure this body inner fender is there, secured in the right spot. Yeah. So it's these very back holes. 1, 2. All you're gonna do is mark that with a Sharpie or a paint marker and mark center. Okay, so do that when you do the front body mount as well. Okay, step 4. Remember we put the inner fender in, we located it, I took some paint off. So it's basically the front body mount. So just where that green is. So you can just drill a hole or you can pilot a hole. You can see we had other holes from other projects. So I'm gonna pilot a hole first. So basically, I'm gonna try and get right to the center of the circle. Let's give me my pilot and make sure the tire's turned so you get some room in there. Okay, I got the hole piloted. Now I got our 23/64 drill bit. That's going to be for our M6 nutsert. So same thing, I'm just going to get it in the center and go for it. When you're drilling metal, you don't have to drill too fast. You usually dull the bit and heat it up. And you should have cutting fluid. I have cutting fluid. I'm just being lazy. There we go. So there's our hole for our nutsert, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so basically you can see I put a riv nut ready in here, and there's a hole drilled. So you can use a really small angle grinder to drill this hole. Our holes are drilled out here for our fenders, so you continue right through. So basically I would drill the hole out here at 7/16 for the fender and this one because we're going to use fender inner fender together. If you were doing this hole would be drilled out, but then you would use the 23/64 if you were not using our fender. And you would come through these holes and you'd have a long bit and go right through all the body mount. Then you would install the riv nuts. So just those 2 holes. So step 5, I'm going to use the drill version of the nutsert tool. So it's all set for M6 nutsert. All you do is screw that guy on there until it bottoms out. I'm going to use the driver with the attachment. So basically, very simple. I'm going to find that body mount hole that we did. And I'm going to plop this guy in. And that's it. And I'm going to back it out. just get rid of this guy. Hopefully I didn't kill it. That's the thing with the drill ones. They work really good, but they're pretty tough. So that's going to be M6. And like I said, if you're just doing the inner fenders, you're going to follow up. You would probably use a manual tool here because there's not a lot of room. Then you would put the M6 in those two very back holes. Today for us, because we're doing both, I'm going to show you how I put in with the manual tool. I'll put in the M8. So we'll do that in 1 second. So I'm going to call this like 5B. So like I said, you would probably put something together like this either way. But like I said, we're going up to M8. You would use M6 if you're just doing the regular fender install, inner fender, sorry. So we're going to use our fender and inner fender. So basically I have the driver with the socket attachment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lubricate up my manual tool because I did beat it up quite a bit. So we'll see how this goes. I'm basically going to insert the manual tool into the nutsert that I have in here. It's going to get a little tight because this is a little beat up. So you would do the same thing with an M6 bolt for the M6, except you would probably just have to have a small ratchet and a wrench here, unless you drill these two holes out, which we did because you had to for the other. So what I was doing, we might be able to get away with this actually. So there's two ways to do this. So you can set the socket up like that, get it pretty straight, have that on forward, get yourself an adjustable for whatever size nut you decide to have there. If you use ours, I just use an adjustable. Then I'll just back that out. I'll take the socket out, pull the extension out, and then we're going to have to get that guy out because we put it in pretty tough. So that's going to be the nuts are installed. I'm basically going to repeat that process for the bottom one, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so step 6, we're going to install the inner fender. So you're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 M6 bolts. If you're doing it the regular way, if you're not, you're going to need 4 M6 bolts and the 2 M8 bolts that come in the Fender kit. All right, so I'm going to do that real quick, and then we'll show you the final step. Okay, step 7, we got our debris shield, and you're going to have 2 bolts. I'll show you where it goes. Okay, so we've got all this open cavity here, right? So basically we're gonna, I'll take a little manipulating because my fenders, we've been beating on this thing for, 14 years. So basically what you're gonna do is just fit it in place like that. Fits in the body contour. So that went in all right, so I'm just gonna start the bolts. Got the other one. That's going to be our same M6 bolt we've been using the whole time. Stainless steel, black hardware. So you would just adjust the fitment. You would tighten those all the way down. I can almost do it with my powerful fingers. So there you go. That's going to give you a nice clean look. Keeps debris out of the area. Easy to remove and take off. So then we'll do one final step, or just like a caveat to the install here right now. Step 8, if you want to, if you need to. So we have this pre-cut corner. That's going to be for if you're running a light, so a side marker light. So I'll show you on the other side really quick what we're talking about with our fender, inner fender. So obviously we're going to run our fenders and inner fenders, but in behind here is where the wiring is going to go and run out. So you basically, if we go to the other side, so that's finished product. That's what it looks like on the driver's side. Same steps, both sides. So if you're gonna run something like that, or our inner fenders and fenders together, before you put this back in, you're just gonna grab that tab and you're gonna wiggle it, and it's gonna break these little T-points and those, and then that'll give you that open cavity for the wiring to come out and for the LED light to sit in. So that's it. That's the last step. 8 steps. Mostly hand tools, very easy to do. And that's your Maxwell inner fender, part number 15-1266.